Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today I'm going to show you how to get a tap file image off the internet for the Commodore PET and transfer it onto one of them things, a cassette tape, so I can actually play it in a real Commodore PET rather than just on an emulator. Right, so let's get started. I've had to do a bit of an impromptu setup here. I probably can't see the screen brilliantly, but it's really the best I can come up with at the moment. Right, what we do, I've got a little piece of software I downloaded off the web, and it is called WAV/PRG. If you search on Google or whatever for WAV-PRG, you'll find the program. It's only about a meg if that to download. Anyway, what we will do is we will load WAV-PRG. Now when it first comes up, it will ask you, do you want to convert a sound file like a tap or a WAV file to a PRG, a P00 or a T64 file, which are files that are basically used in like the C64 emulators. So your other option is to convert a PRG, P00 or T64 file to a tap or a WAV. Now this is what we need to do. I've been on the web and I've downloaded some Commodore PET 4032 tap files. So these are original tape files for the 4032. I've got them on my system. So if we have a look here now, we open this, so we make sure it's on the bottom one there, so it converts to the convert PRG, P00 or T64 to a tap or a WAV. So if we click OK on there, now this is where I was going wrong when I first started this. This software is not designed really for use with the Commodore PET. It's designed for use with the C64, the VIC-20, the Commodore C16. But it will work, as I've found. Well, it will work for some of the programs I've tried. I've not got it to work with a machine code program yet. But if it's written in BASIC, this seems to work. But what we need to do is at the top here, you've got output format, fast to slow. You need to set that to slow. Leave it set for C64 PAL. Well, I'm in the UK, so PAL's the standard, but leave it set to C64. Now, it gives us the option of the output as a tap file, as a WAV file, or straight to the sound card. Now for what we're doing, I want it to go straight to the sound card. Now here's where I was messing up before. I was leaving it as a square wave when I first tried this, and when I tried loading it into the Commodore PET, I got with a searching little searching message up, and then it just came up with an error. So I started having a mess about, and what I've found is if you convert that to a sine wave, so it records the output as a sine wave rather than a square wave, it seems to work. So we click that to sine, click OK. And this is just a directory of Commodore PET games. This is just a directory. I've got all my the .prg files. I said tap before and it was true. That wasn't right. The .prg, .program files. You can use tap files. You can convert .prg to .tap and vice versa. But anyway, these are .prg files, which is just basically the program image. So what we will do is we'll probably do this. We'll do Space Invaders. So I'll show you how we're going to do this. I've got my tape here, and what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to wind on the leader before we start. So what I do is I just, you can use a biro or anything, you just want to get the bit of white or pink tape at the start of the tape. You want to wind that on so you can just start to see the brown tape. If you look at that there, can you see I'm just on to the start of the brown tape. And this now goes in my cassette recording. I'm going to have to take the camera off the tripod to show you this, and it might be a bit dark, but just try and show you what I've got here. I can't lift it off the top of the computer because of the length of the leads, but let's have a go at this now. So just bear with me a second. Right, now what we've got, this down here is my well, I'll call it my retro PC. The old one I had actually died. The hard drive went in it. I put a new hard drive in, it just wasn't happy. Every time I tried to install XP on it, it'd get halfway through and just die. and I really don't have the time to mess with it at the moment. I really just don't have time to mess with it at the moment. It's quite an old, it's a 1.2 gig AMD Athlon. The reason I really liked it is it still supported 360k floppy disk drives, which unfortunately, well, this one does, but it only has one floppy drive channel on it, as where the other one had two, so I could have a 3.5 inch and a 5.25 inch hard drive, floppy drive in it. This I'm stuck with a 3.5 inch at the moment. I'm figuring out a way to get around that. Might do some drive switching arrangements, so you can switch a 5.25 and a 3.5. But anyway, that's not what we're here to look at. It's this on top is a generic. Just move some of these cables. That's just my keyboard and what have you. It is just a generic 1980s audio cassette stroke data cassette recorder. It's a Philips one, and I have serviced it. It has new belts in it, and I've cleaned the heads on it, so it gives about as good an output and record as one of these would new. You don't want to be using something that's been lying around in the attic for years for this. You do need a machine that's actually in good order, so this is in nice good order. And that, the microphone in on that is connected to the, I don't know if you can see this, but the headphone out on the PC. So that's taking its signal straight from the PC sound card. What we need to do now is we take the tape, open that up. I'm sorry about how dark this is, but I've no extra real light in here. We'll put the tape in there. What we do is we press pause, so we hold pause on and just hold down play and record together, like that. So the tape's not actually moving yet, it's held down by the pause. Now this software, when I click on the actual, because I've got it set to record direct out to sound card, when I press the icon for the Space Invaders game there, it will start playing the sound straight away. So what I need to do is I need to quickly press unpause it. I can let it run on for a few seconds, that. Then come up to here, and if I double click on the Space Invaders icon, there we go. Now, I don't know if you can hear that, but can you hear a little pitch sound coming out of the recorder? There we go. Now that's recording at the moment. Now if we look back on the PC here, let me just see if I can get this back on my tripod. There we go. Can you see that little status bar going up there? Now, that is the file recording from the PC. It converts it to audio. It is then being recorded on that audio tape in the tape player. So this might take a few minutes. I'm going to actually do this in real time so you can see how long it takes to save the file to the tape player, and then what we will do is we will, I'll just pan over to this now. This is not going to be a nice pan. We have the PET up there, which I have working again now. I found out what was wrong with it, and yeah, it was someone actually commented on my last video saying that they could see that the clear home button was pressed down. Now I've known about that for a while. The spring underneath the keycap was actually, when I first got it, the spring was broken. The top part of the spring's actually snapped off, but the keys never caused a major problem. It's always worked, it's just been a little bit lower than the other keys. Well, I've been racking my brains over this. Someone suggested, I just looked at the keys and it's clear home. That would make the cursor go to the top of the screen, but it's never been a problem before. So I got a little screwdriver under it. I tried lifting the keycap up, see if that would clear it, and it didn't. So I thought, oh, it's not that. I'm jumping to conclusions. It can't be something that simple. So what I did is I disconnected the keyboard inside and powered the computer up, and it booted up fine with the cursor in the correct place. I knew the keyboard must be the issue. So what I ended up doing, I ended up stripping the keyboard down again, and it was the little plastic cup, the little bucket with the contact little contact bit in the middle, little rubber one. It actually slipped out of its position, and it had become deformed by the key pressing on it, and it was making contact with the board. So I took that out, I cleaned it up, I reformed it back into shape, reassembled it, and it worked again. I managed to find a new spring for under the keycap. It's actually one off an old C64 keyboard, but they're identical. So I've installed that under the keycap, and it's working again. So Right, actually I'll finish that now because I believe the tape's just finished. So all we need to do is we need to stop the recording, and we need to rewind that just to make sure. We just need to rewind that tape. So I'll just rewind that tape now. Yeah, take you back off the tripod for a second. There we go. So the tape is just there's tape's rewound. Now with this player, even with the microphone in, we can play it back and just see what it sounds like on this audio player. See if we get something that sounds like a computer tape. Now let's see what happens. There we go. That doesn't sound too bad. That's just the leader tone. It should change in a second, that. There we go. That doesn't sound too bad, so we'll just rewind that. Okay, right, let's get that tape out of there. So, well, there we are. We should have Space Invaders recorded on that tape there. Now, over to the pet. And let's put that in the data set there. So that's down in the data set. And on the pet, all we need to do is type load, LOAD, and then 2 quotation marks. If you knew what the file name was, you just put load a quotation out, the name of the file, another quotation mark, and it'd go through the whole tape until it found that. Double quotation marks just means it'll load the next thing on the tape, and as this is the only thing on the tape, that's fine. So all we need to do is press return. It asks us to press the play on the tape, so we need to press play on the tape, and as you can see, it's come up searching. Yeah, it's not the best. It actually plays really well, this dataset player. It'll play all my old C64 tapes. It just doesn't sound very happy. The belts are actually fine in it. I've given it a good clean, so I'm not 100% sure why it sounds so awful, but it works fine. If we look there, it's come up loading. And I am going to let this load now. It's going to mean this is quite a long video, and you'll have seen a real-time recording and a real-time play of an audio tape. But let me just see if I can get this back on the tripod, make this a little easier. You might even see me be able to play Space Invaders very, very badly then. Let's get this open. As I've said, I've only got this to work with basic programs so far. I've not actually got it to work with anything made in machine code. I'm going to keep going with that, but what I do have for this, which I really, really, really want to get working, is I have a 5080 disk drive unit, a double 5080 disk drive, which are I think they're single-sided 500k discs, which should be quite good fun. It's in a right state. It came with my other Commodore, my 8082, 8280 or 8082, whatever. It's the one in the big ball molded case that I showed in my other video. It came with that, but it's probably more suited to this. So that is one of my upcoming projects, is to try and get that working. And then of course I've got to find a way of getting disk images off the web onto them discs, and I don't think I can use a 1541 X cable and a 1541 drive for doing that, because I think the way that it writes the sectors between the Commodore PET drives and the Commodore 64 and VIC-20 drives is slightly different, and that won't work. So I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do it yet. I have looked at, there's a interesting piece of hardware out there which will allow the PET's disk drive through its IEEE interface to connect to a PC. So that's a possibility of doing it that way. I'm not 100% sure yet. Like I said, I'm still umming and ahhing about that, but I would really like to get a disk system working. And because of the way it uses the IE interface, I should be able to have both my PETs running off the same disk drive. Right, I'll finish my spiel there anyway, because that seems to have loaded. So let us try running it. So RUN, remember this is a basic program, press enter. Right, it's working. What you can see there, I've never seen this on a computer game before. The first screen on the computer game is actually basically like a circuit diagram on how you can get a sound output out of the PET, so your computer game actually has audio on it. I will have to try that at some point. It just uses the parallel port at the back of the PET, so I really will have to have a go at that and get some audio coming out of this thing, because this is an early one. I think the later ones had sound on them already. Anyway, I think we'll press space, and we've got play Space Invaders. Look, how's that? Now, I will have a really quick go at playing this game of Space Invaders, and I don't think I'll be very good. Right, hit any key to start. Player 1. Right, now, let's have a look here. I think this is a really, really good oh, yeah, I'm not very good at it, as you can see, but I think this is a really cracking version of Space Invaders, you know. I really quite enjoy playing it, even though it's so primitive. Anyway, I think that's really shown you all I needed to show you for today. So you can see you can get some software to run on your old vintage PETs, even if you don't have a disk drive, even if you don't mind some simple basic programs like this. Yeah, it's great fun. So I think I'll leave it at that anyway. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.